Hello, this is Mr. Goldberg providing you with a little context on the I Have a Dream speech, which you're about to see. So the I Have a Dream speech was one of the last speeches given at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. And that happened on a sweltering hot August day in 1963. And A. Philip Randolph, if you've not heard of him before, he and Dr. King worked together to organize the march. He was interested in a march for jobs, and Dr. King was interested in a march for freedom, and they decided rather than having two marches, they would combine them and have one really big march. And Rosa Parks is probably a name you recognize over here. As we scroll down, we'll see John Lewis made some remarks, and a number of other people spoke, and speaker number 16 here is Dr. King. So people would have been there for the whole day, pretty much. There was sort of a picnicky atmosphere, but folks were also dressed quite well, and people often compare it to a church service. So if you look at the crowd shots, you'll notice that people are reasonably well dressed. And at the A. Philip Randolph gave the pledge at the end, and then the president of Morehouse College, where Dr. King actually attended in Atlanta, gave the benediction. And then most folks had to go home. There were about 250,000 people on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And that's the area that goes between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. Let me show you what that looks like. Take 1 second here. So on Google Earth, you can see from our old home over here on Park Drive to our new home, which we'll zoom into in a second, is about 900 yards. So get rid of that. Let's zoom in to the new and improved RTHS. And I'm just going to put a box around the school. That's 100 yards by 100 yards. That's about a football field each way, not counting the end zones. And so now keep that in mind as we head up to Washington, D.C., where the 1963 march happened. And so this is the Lincoln Memorial here. Dr. King spoke from the front, and there are all sorts of people in here. I'm not sure what's up with this picture, but this is normally filled with water. This is the reflecting pool. And we'll see the Washington Monument is off to the right here in a second. But that's how big that box around our school would be in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Lincoln Memorial is quite big. And so if we zoom out to get a scale of how big his speech was, this is the Washington Monument over here. You can see its shadow cast that way. And so from the base of the Lincoln to the Washington Monument is 14 football fields. So 14 RTHSs would fit there, and this is about 500 yards that way. And so that just gives you some sense of what the estimated 200,000 people looked like on August 28th, 1963. And you've also seen a little bit of history in that video you saw earlier today, so you know that the march didn't happen in isolation. The Brown versus Board of Education decision happened, and then Dr. King and Rosa Parks and other folks in Montgomery helped lead the boycotts. There were sit-ins, notably in Greensboro in 1960, and then there's the march, followed by Freedom Summer, and then Selma, that would say 1965, if this weren't cut off there. So please discuss for a minute any questions y'all might have about the video, and then it runs a little bit over 15 minutes, and I think it's worth watching and discussing in its entirety. It's widely hailed as one of the greatest speeches in American history. Hope you enjoy it.